You know, the 2025 G20 Summit in Johannesburg, it really wasn't just another photo op for world leaders. Not at all. This was a moment that could genuinely reshape the global balance of power. So we're going to break down how a historic boycott, an incredibly ambitious new agenda, and a united global South are creating a whole new reality for international business and politics.
Right from the jump, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa set a really defiant tone. He did something pretty unprecedented. He secured the adoption of the Leaders' Declaration right at the very start of the summit. This move basically framed the entire event as a huge victory for working together, a powerful statement that the world's biggest problems can and will be tackled collectively.
But honestly, the real headline was who wasn't in the room. The United States decided to boycott the summit, which is the first time a sitting U.S. president has ever skipped the G20. And yet, the declaration was passed by consensus anyway. That single moment sent a massive signal, suggesting that the G20 can and absolutely will move forward, with or without Washington.
Okay, so to really get how pivotal this summit was, we have to look at the context. This whole event was defined by a series of powerful firsts that pointed to a brand new global agenda.
For the very first time, the leaders of the world's 20 biggest economies met on African soil. Now, this wasn't just some symbolic gesture. The location itself fundamentally shifted the entire conversation, putting the priorities, the challenges, and, frankly, the immense potential of Africa and the entire global South right at the absolute center of the world stage.
And this whole new perspective was guided by the African philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because we are. This wasn't just a catchy theme for a conference. It was a direct challenge to the old way of doing things, that zero-sum competition. It was a call for a much more cooperative approach to solving global challenges, everything from crushing debt to climate change.
So how did this philosophy of cooperation actually translate into Africa's core agenda? Well, this summit wasn't just about hosting. It was about leading the conversation and demanding real, tangible change.
The starting point was the continent's massive development gap. Just think about this for a second. Over 600 million Africans still live without access to electricity. A single stat like that really anchored the discussions in the urgent need for practical, large-scale investment in energy and infrastructure.
South Africa also put a major spotlight on the crippling issue of risk parity. This is a situation where African nations are often forced to pay way higher interest rates on loans than other countries with the exact same risk profile. It's essentially a financial penalty that makes it so much harder to fund development and escape that cycle of debt.
So the agenda they put forward was crystal clear and incredibly ambitious. This wasn't just about asking for more aid. It was about demanding deep, structural reforms to the world's financial and political institutions to create a truly level playing field for everyone.
And you know what? They got results. A huge, concrete win was securing a brand new 25th seat on the International Monetary Fund's Executive Board specifically for Sub-Saharan Africa. This gives the continent a much stronger, permanent voice in the decisions that shape the entire global economy.
Now, Africa wasn't alone in pushing this new development-first agenda. India, building on the momentum from its own recent G20 presidency, really stepped up as a crucial partner and a champion for the global South.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi basically argued for a fundamental rethink of how we even measured growth. He pointed out that the current economic models have failed both people and the planet, especially in Africa. He proposed an alternative philosophy of integral humanism, which focuses on holistic, sustainable well-being for all.
And India didn't just bring philosophy. It backed it up with 6 very concrete proposals. From a skills initiative to train 1 million African trainers, all the way to a satellite data partnership, these are real, actionable plans designed to empower the global South with skills, technology, and security.
So, with these ambitious agendas from Africa and India on the table, what did the G20 actually deliver in the end? Let's take a look at the final scorecard. On the development and economic front, the declaration was symbolically quite strong. There was real progress on a new framework for critical minerals, a big push for reforming multilateral development banks, and a call to scale up climate finance from billions into the trillions.
But when it came to the hard security issues, the consensus was paper thin. On the critical issue of terrorism, the entire declaration contained just this one single brief line. That's it.
And that contrast tells you everything you need to know. While the summit was a major success for the development agenda, it failed to build any meaningful consensus on the world's most pressing geopolitical conflicts.
The declaration barely even mentioned the wars in Ukraine and Gaza, which really exposed these deep, unbridgeable divisions among the members.
So what's the bottom line here? For businesses, for policymakers, for anyone watching these massive shifts in global power, what are the key takeaways from this really pivotal summit?
At the end of the day, the Johannesburg Summit was a tale of two realities. On one hand, it was a major symbolic victory for a new multilateral world order, one where the global south can set the agenda. But, on the other hand, it revealed a world that is still deeply fractured by geopolitical rivalries, completely unable to unite on issues of war and peace.
And that leaves us with a critical question, doesn't it? The summit proved that the global south has the voice and the vision to lead. But it also exposed the deep divisions that could prevent that vision from ever becoming a global reality. The potential for a new world order is definitely there, but the path to actually building it is anything but certain.